Welcome to the Irene Podcast. Today we have with us Andrea Parkinson, and she's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her story.
I'm Andrea Parkinson. I've been living in St. George, Utah for the last 20 years. I'm a dental hygienist. I'm a mom of 3. I have a loving, wonderful spouse for 32 years, and we moved here from Florida just to help bring up our kids closer to family.
Oh, fun. So what have you had happen in your life that maybe has been a huge obstacle that you've overcome, and what have you done to overcome that obstacle?
Okay, I have been dealing with chronic pain probably since, right after we moved to St. George 21 years ago. And I wouldn't say I'm still overcoming it. I deal with chronic pain all the time, mainly from a back surgery that was trying to correct my pain in the first place, gave me relief for about 5 years. And then from about 2016 on, I have been in pain every day and loss of function. I had muscle atrophy that went all down my right side, just trying to find diagnoses for that. And it takes a long time. You don't just magically know what's going on. And finally, when we came down to it, we're just trying to work our way through it through some methods that won't leave me addicted to pain medications or something that's going to change my life for the worse just to feel better.
Right. Because you want longevity of life, not just short-term fixes.
I worked freaking hard to get right where I am right now. All my kids are grown. They're off doing their thing. They're, their own little beings that I don't have to take care of them anymore. For the first time in 30 years, I get to be just who am I and what do I get to do? And I don't want to spend it stuck in my house in pain. I would rather be running around, living the life that I envisioned when I was 20. When I thought I was building all of this, I didn't envision me sitting at home by myself.
Right, because we don't you sound like a lot like me, where as I age, I want to be better and better every day because I want to run around with grandkids. I want to keep up with what's going on with my kids as they raise their children because I want to be there and be present and be active and incorporated in their lives and what they're doing. I want to go to their games. I want to go to whatever. I just want to be able to be fully present, like what you're saying. So let's rewind to before you had the chronic pain. What was your life like before that happened?
I would say when I was in Florida, I had the perfect version of everything I wanted at that time. I had 3 little kids, and kids are not my favorite. I mean, my own I can stand to be around, but everybody else's I don't necessarily want to hang out with that. But I don't want to be isolated in my house without friends. So anywhere I moved, I'd start an exercise group. That's how I met my wonderful friend Dee Dee. And from there, I cull my friendships out of that. So those people that I would exercise with, we'd all bring our kids together and let them play. So we all had this perfect version of people to hang out with. My kids were happy, and I was getting my exercise. But my husband was working a job that he was just overworked, and it just was not fulfilling for him. So we decided at that time that we would bounce from there, and we found a new place in St. George.
So you just have always been very active, very physically active, very involved in having this little group of your people so that you can have more than just your children that you talk to all day, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to play. I'm super social. Have you ever done the color charting where you're like blue and white and yellow and red? Okay, so I'm so yellow that I make the sun look dull sometimes. I'm just a super social person, but I also am a dental hygienist, which really trained me to be kind of a red. Reds are very organized and methodic. So I'd say, well, I'm kind of an orange because I'm a really good partier. I plan really good parties that way. So that lent itself to that. But I do want to be out and part of things and part of my kids' lives, but especially with my husband because he is a really high-level athlete. He does triathlons, and he enjoys it so much that we go to a pro training camp, and that's where we just got back from. And so I don't want him to go there alone. I want to go, and I want them to include me in what they do. So I got to figure out how to get there.
Yeah. So was there a specific thing that happened that kind of made you go, whoa, what is this? Like, what's happening to me? And what was that? And then what did you do from that point? Like be real and raw. We want to talk about how hard it is, but we also want to talk about how you moved through that and got to where you are right now.
Sure. Like I said, my husband's a big triathlete, runner, marathon. So my whole family, my kids and myself, have all done marathons. And as I ran each marathon, I'd start saying, man, my leg kind of aches, my foot hurts, and I'd start tripping. So I'd go out for runs, come back, hands bloodied, knees bloodied, and I said, I tripped over something again. I'm so klutzy. And after the third time, I was like, I am tripping over everything. And I said, I know what foot drop is. And foot drop comes with MS. So I started going, I don't have that, but I have something. And I went to put a boot on one day, and that boot on my right foot was so big around my foot that I was like, my foot shrank. There's something going on. So that's when we got into a neurologist. They did some scans, and they found a demyelinized nerve. And there's insulation around each nerve, and one of the places has what they call a plaque on it, and that's very hallmark for MS. And I do have a big history in my family. I have several cousins with MS, so we had to treat it like MS for a little while. But I only had one or maybe two, and multiple means that there's many. I just had such isolated ones that I started to put it in the fact that I have the genetic defect that I can get a demyelinized nerve, but I don't have MS. So it's probably viral caused. Probably mono, Epstein-Barr virus, probably caused that. So I've probably had that my whole life because that's something from like the 80s when I was going through high school.
Yeah.
So we had to deal with that part of it and see if that was it. But then I would have increasing pain and no changing in the MRIs. So there was nothing getting worse in that part of it, but my pain was escalating. So a couple of years ago, I had given blood to the Genome Project at the hospital here in St. George, and they were just collecting it, and you had to sign off. You weren't looking for answers. They weren't going to call you with any results, but they actually called me and said, you actually do have something super treatable. It's called hemochromatosis. My body doesn't break down iron. So instead of breaking it down, it stores it in a different form, and it stores it everywhere. Bone, ligament, tendon, muscle, and connective tissue. And then anywhere I've had scars. So I've had a back surgery. So I think that along with maybe the little bit of nerve damage I had, caused me to have some serious pain. When they took the blood out, which is phlebotomy, they take that out a couple of times a year for me now. It brings my numbers back to level, and it helps with the pain, but it doesn't take it out of those places that it was severely input. And so I'm trying with different forms. I mean, I hit chiropractor, I hit the gym, I go with Dee Dee, who gives me amazing massages that try to move that and gain some function back and decrease the pain.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No, we want to hear that though, because we all deal with different forms of pain. Like I know that we like to focus on like emotional healing and emotional health, but physical pain can actually cause a lot of emotional distress too. Because there was a point in my life where I had hurt my back and I was in bed for like 3 or 4 months, and it was the most psychologically rough time in my life because I'm an active person as well, and I would sweat getting up to walk to the bathroom. So it's not just physical, right? You're dealing with all the emotional, especially when you don't have real clear answers with real clear diagnosis or even treatment.
Yeah.
So
I still don't know if I'm right, but I just go with that movement forward because when I think that way, it gives me results versus if I think I can't solve this is a permanent thing, then I'm lost.
Yes.
So I just go, well, I'll try my best
let's
to solve
do
it.
this till we find the next thing that's better.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. In fact, I often say I just need to be 1% better every day. That's all I'm getting. So I'll take that because 1% will add up over time eventually.
Yeah.
And there are days that have huge setbacks. Like the hardest part about everything I've gone through is I keep thinking I'm solving it. Like I literally think I am going to be there. And exactly. And then I will have a huge setback that my pain will spike. And a lot of that was before I knew that I had the hemochromatosis. And so my pain still kind of goes in and out, but there are days that I couldn't move. I had to be rescued by my neighbors quite often because I couldn't get myself out of bed. I couldn't. One time I laid down on my couch, but my phone was out of reach and I couldn't move to get my phone. And my husband was calling me and couldn't get a hold of me. He was so nervous for me, thought I was dead. And he called my neighbors and they broke into my house to rescue me. But my rescue was the fact that they could help me sit up on my couch because I couldn't move. That was just debilitating.
Yeah.
Stupid is what it really is, but
It feels frustrating, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
Like,
betrayed. I felt so betrayed by my own body.
yes.
And I work with a guy who helps me lift, and he keeps saying your body is always on your side. And I'd be like, I don't believe this. But he's like,
tell
you've
my
got
body
to
that.
buy into this, and that way it can help you. And so he's like, when you're having pain, your body's telling you you're doing something incorrectly. So you've got to quit moving the way that's causing the pain. And so I just try to lean into that and say, all right, tell me what I need to know. And then I eventually learn something from it. I'm not going to go through it and at the back end not have something that I can take away from it.
That's your mindset too, because you could be perpetually in bed or on the couch or not very sedentary because it's hard.
Oh yeah.
But you have chosen to rise above that difficult and challenge your own mental state in taking it to the next level and finding the next answer and finding the next thing that works. And that's so admirable, because so many people will just lay down and just be like, well, it's just too much.
Oh, no way. No way.
Yeah, but
I can't do that.
But that's because of the resilience that you've created within yourself from over and over and over seeking for more answers and saying, I'm never going to quit.
Well, I keep thinking I'm probably the only one who is going to figure this out, because I'm the only one who can feel the pain and where it comes from, when it ends, and what helps it. And so if I'm relying on anybody else for things, all I'm doing is trying to take their information, bring it in, and see if it works. But I'm not putting my hopes that they'll figure it out for me. It's called bricolage. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's taking in information from everywhere and building on it. And so that's all I do. I mean, if somebody tells me they have something that might work, I'll listen to them. And it kind of has to be scientific. I'm not kind of one of those that'll jump off the deep end of everything. But if they can give me a resource or some research that might back it up, I give everything a whirl. And if it doesn't work, I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah. But you have to at least try.
Oh, yeah.
Because your end goal is to figure out how you can have the best quality of life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and again, your resilience has created that within you, because you don't have the quitter mentality. You have well, that didn't work. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I call it a study of one. And basically I'm a study of one. And so I put everything through me to see, does this work? And I treat it 100% like research. Even when I had to start, I got my medical marijuana card, which helped tremendously. But I didn't know how to use it, how much should I do, and so I used the gummies, and then I would take notes on when did I take it, how long did it last, how did I feel through it, and there's so many different versions that I would try different brands so I wouldn't get hooked on just kind of one, so that I always had to have that. I was always worried of addiction kind of stuff, but it really isn't addicting in that form. It is more about what things will bring relief and what things will stir me up. Like I accidentally got a blend that made me lose my appetite. Mm-hmm. I couldn't look at food for a month, and I didn't know what it was coming from. I just got really sick and lost probably 20 pounds in a very short time. And I would look at food and just almost puke. So I couldn't cook. I couldn't lift my head. I was sick as a dog. And my husband just thought I was dying. I thought I was dying. Yeah. And I didn't know what was causing it. So we had to go off all medications and then bring things back to see which
one triggered it.
But yeah. I had like anxiety, panic attacks. I ended up in the hospital. I had to take my job, which was usually 3 to 4 days a week, to 1 day a week. And even then they'd say, come when you can. I would sit in the back of the classroom in a coat and a jacket and a blanket because I was so cold, and try to stay present for what they were doing. I was just thinking, I think I'm dying. I don't know what's happening. So coming back from that, I just signed up for every therapist that there was, whether it was mental health, physical health, pelvic floor, ortho, everything. I ended up on the stroke floor because they didn't know what to do with me, but I just said, I'll try anything. So everybody who said they'd help. Everybody
try everything so that I can find relief.
Yeah, what they were good at, they tried it, and some things helped. And so I'd always say there's my 1% better, but nothing has ever fixed it. It just makes it so that I can put it in my back pocket and live with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your quality of life changes when you have something that's so debilitating. So if you can just improve that quality of life, like you said, 1%, you can still live your life and not be confined to your bed or a chair or the couch or whatever. being a social person, because I'm the same way, that was the hardest thing for me when I was hurt, was the lack of connection with people.
Yeah.
Because people want to go out and do, and it's hard. Like, you know, I had some close friends that would come and visit, but it's just not the same.
Oh no,
it's just
there's
not
an
the same
energy
when all you
of
can
being.
do is lay there.
Yeah. Well, so I grew up doing all things social. So I was a cheerleader because I loved to be in front and jump around and have fun. And so that took a lot of that away from me because I couldn't put myself out there and have I don't know, just, it was harder to just go out and have the energy to put into that. It wasn't naturally there anymore.
Yeah.
But I would go with my husband and my son and we'd go play pickleball. I couldn't run. I'd stand there, but it trained them to hit it more to me. And I got to hit it anywhere and they had to run for it. So they loved it because they got out of it what they wanted. But I still would put myself in the situation. If I'd have said, no, I'm just going to stay home, I would have missed all of my son growing up. We took him to play pickleball every Sunday, and I've seen this kid just flourish in things that I would have missed out on had I just been at home. Because my life happens kind of outside of my home, and then it comes back to home to rest.
Right.
So, yeah.
Especially when your kids are in sports. That's the one thing that, like, my kids all played sports too, and kind of one of my favorite things about raising my kids was watching them play and develop as athletes, especially as an active person myself. Like, when you're active and you see your kids doing those things, it just makes your heart so happy because you know the joy that comes from those events and winning and challenging yourself and growing in your sport and
where they love it. Like the first times out, they probably don't love it, and then they all of a sudden love it. Now my kid takes people that he just meets and says, let's go play pickleball, and gets them out there, and I think, that's me. That was me.
Yeah.
I see him doing those things that I did myself.
Because you pushed yourself to do those things even when it was hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though it was hard. I mean, not when hard, it's always hard, but it was just stupid. I have no words for it.
Yeah, so. It's interesting how you can give the same situation to someone else and they have a completely different outcome because of their mindset, because of their inability to push past some of that stuff because it's just too much.
Yeah. Well, and it is overwhelming. I'm
sure you've had days where you're like, okay, I can't do it today. Today, I'm just going to take a breath.
I actually was suicidal through this last one because I was so sick and I hurt so much that nothing would touch the pain. I couldn't take enough of anything to make it go away. And I kept saying, this is real. Like sometimes I wake up and I go, was this real? You know, is this where I'm really at, living this life of pain? And so I just said, if this is me for the rest of my life is going to be very short. So I had a very frank conversation with my husband and said, if I can't solve this soon, I'm probably going to be gone. And he just said, I don't even know how to respond to this. It sent him big. And that's how I was close. I mean, I've never been suicidal before. I've never had anxiety, never had anxiety. And I literally couldn't even think the words of, what I needed to do without starting to not being able to breathe and whatnot. So I had to be on all sorts of meds, which I'm still on quite a few medications that force me to eat. I still have a hard time eating and force me to sleep better. I just had a hard time. I couldn't turn my mind off. Like I was in my head all the time and try not to berate myself. When you get there and you start saying, I should have figured this out long ago. How come I haven't figured this out? And you start being mean to yourself.
But that's so far from reality. Like we think those thoughts, but if you really sit down and think about what's wrong with you and what your struggles are, it's stuff that even doctors aren't sure about.
No.
So it's not your fault.
Exactly.
It's just the challenge that you get to overcome in this life. And I think we all have those and they're different for everybody.
That's why I'm glad for my own sometimes because I hear what other people are going through and I'm like, I'll take mine. I don't like mine, but I like mine more than that for sure.
I remember one time somebody mentioned an analogy where if we all threw our stuff in a pile on the floor and we were to take whatever was there, we'd always take our back because we know what that is and we know how to kind of navigate that and seeing what everybody else's stuff is like, oh wow, okay. It kind of gives you the perspective of I need to just focus on me because what somebody else is going through is way difficult. And I don't
hard.
want that challenge because mine is already hard enough.
Yeah. Life is hard. I mean, this is not for, it's not for the weak.
No, not at all.
Oh.
But I think the beauty of life too is that we get to have these challenges, but we also get to grow because we have these challenges.
Sure.
So we get to see what we're capable of. We get to see the things that push us to actually elevate to that next level. Mm-hmm. We get to be a part of the growth that is inevitable within us mm-hmm. because we have these challenges. So for me, I like if something's difficult in my life, my first thought is, how can I learn my lesson from this and be better on the other side? So I just, with personal things in my life right now, some things are so hard. And there's days where I'm like, but why?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
like, why is this my challenge? Why do I have to navigate this? But then when I step back into that, it's a lesson that I need to learn. It's a growth that needs to happen so that I'm better for the next thing that's coming up. Because I truly think that life is just a series of events to elevate us to that next best thing for ourselves.
And I think everyone has those moments like you're talking about. I totally understand those days that you're like, why? This is just, I never even envisioned those. But I think if I step out and get out and start saying all the good things that I have and reminding myself that I would have days that I would say, I'm loved, I'm well cared for, I am lucky, I have people who love me, I'm well fed, even though I don't want to look at food or anything. I had all these good things. So if I could just quit thinking about how hard it was and just think of all the good things, I felt better.
Yes.
I work with a guy who, he calls himself a neurokinetic therapist, but he makes sure that I'm connected my nerves to my muscles, to my posture, so that when I do any workout, I'm doing it the right way and not increasing the pain. And he will, this is one of those moments that I'm off in the weeds, that I probably have to bring myself back in.
He can make sure you have that connection while you're working out.
Yeah, I had a different point, but now I can't think
It's
what
okay.
it was.
So I love what you said about like remembering all the things that are good in your life, because I am a true believer in a gratitude journal. Sure. I'm a true believer in what is the silver lining in this situation. I just always want to elevate to the next level. Mm-hmm. So whenever something is super challenging or hard in my life, I try and take that step back and sit in it for a minute, no matter how hard it feels, but just sit and feel those feelings and go, okay, what is this teaching me right now? What am I supposed to learn from this right now? Mm-hmm. And how can I use this to benefit me in the future?
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I just remembered. He always did the analogy of you're drawing back a bow and an arrow. And he said, the farther you pull it back, the farther it goes. So each time that I have a setback, I think, okay, I just pulled my bow back a little bit farther, but this sucker's going to fly. Yeah. When I let it go, it's going to fly. So
I love that.
Yeah,
that's a great analogy.
Yeah. Well, I have such good people who keep walking into my life, giving me these little nuggets of truth that I go, okay, I'll take that.
That's because you're open. You're open to receive. You're open for, like you were saying earlier, you'll try anything if it's going to help you. If you can see that it could benefit you, mm-hmm. you're all for it. You're all on board. Yeah. And I think that that's why those things and those people show up in our lives, is because we're ready. You probably maybe weren't ready like 10 years ago.
That's ready, for sure.
You know, like think about like way at the beginning, you mm-hmm. probably weren't ready for some of these people that are in your life now, because you were still navigating like what, why, where, when, how. Yeah. And now you've kind of grown into this different person who goes, look, 1% every day. My focus is 1% every day, 1% better every day. And because of that mindset, I think that has given you the opportunity to have these people show up in your life that you can benefit from. Sure. Because you have done all of that mental work over the years to be ready to receive whatever is coming up next. And I truly believe that's kind of like the law of attraction. Like mm-hmm. whatever we prepare ourselves for will show up for us. And if we have the best of intentions, then we're going to be blessed the most.
The more I show up, the more I work towards things, the luckier I am. And I think I'm a very lucky person, and I've always thought that my whole life. I'm one of those people that we showed up one time at, did you live here when Blue Bunny was here? The downtown Blue Bunny? Do you remember that?
I don't think so. I've only been here for a few years.
Oh, okay. Corner of Main and Tabernacle. Blue Bunny created this really cute space for ice cream, is what Blue Bunny is.
Okay.
I don't eat ice cream. I don't like ice cream. It does not like me, so it's an easy thing to not like. But my kids and husband love it. So we go to Blue Bunny one night when they're doing like what's it called when you're raising money for the
like a fundraiser.
Fundraiser for the police. And I didn't want to be there. I'd had a bad day. And I didn't want to spend my money on it. So I pull out $1 and put $1 in. And my kids were like, we're only going to get one chance. That's not fair. How come don't you want more? And I was like, we're as likely to win with $1 as we are with 10. That's all I'm spending. I won the whole freaking grand prize. And then they kept saying, we're so proud of you for donating to our cause. And I was like, I need to go get more money because I did not donate very much. I got to go down to Cirque du Soleil, was the grand prize. And they gave me a backstage tour of the whole thing. I got to meet the people who were doing these amazing physical acts. And if you don't know me, I love physical acts. I used to be a gymnast. It is my jam. And so we got to do all of that. And then they walked us to our seat, brought us popcorn. And these people behind were all whispering. What we didn't know is the lady who was bringing us around was like very famous or like influential. We had no idea. And so people thought we were like super important people. And we were like, no, we gave $1 to a thing and now we're here. So it was just a lot of fun. But again, I'm just lucky. So I have not lucky in everything, but when it hits, I just think, man, it's gold. It's gold. Yeah.
So beautiful. And it's just so, I love hearing stories. We were talking before we started, like we are communicators. I love talking. I could talk to you for like 4 hours.
We could go on.
And I think that we would never run out of things to say to each other.
I agree.
Because I think it's just, I love connecting. I love hearing stories because everybody has a story of triumph and everybody has overcome something in their life, even if it's small or big. It doesn't matter. We're all capable of overcoming so much. And I think that a lot of times when we're in our darkest and lowest times, we don't realize the strength that we truly have. But once we step into that and we challenge ourselves and we want to learn and we want to grow and we want to move forward, then we see a little bit more of our potential.
Sure.
And I'm just so glad that you agreed to come on the podcast today. And your story is beautiful and amazing. And I'm inspired. And I will continue to pray that you find answers and hopefully you can be free from pain. But always remember that your worth never changes no matter what.
Oh, no.
And you're a beautiful, wonderful person. And I'm just so grateful that you came and shared your story with us today on our podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that I reconnected with Dee Dee so that she could make all this happen because I adore her.
Me too.
It's like finding your long lost sister and you're like, oh, here you've been all along.
Yes.
For sure.
And I just want to remind everybody that if there's something challenging in your life, just push yourself a little bit further and see what you can get from that, because every challenge is an opportunity for us to grow and level up to that next level. You're important and you're worth it. God bless.